Boom! It is Tuesday, ladies and gents, and we're going to talk a little bit about being a human when it comes to business.
All right.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business and social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. Yeah, James, it is that time.
It is that time.
Is it warming up in San Diego? Is it warming up?
Woo. It's hot. It's hot in here. Here we go. All right, all you business pros out there, before we jump into the show, just a quick reminder to please subscribe on whichever platform it is that you're catching us on today. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, and drop a review, and help other like-minded business owners find value from our awesome guests as we rise up in the podcast rankings. We will sincerely appreciate every single one of you for it. And if you want to be a guest on the show, we'd love to have you on and learn from you as well. Go to www.businessbros.biz/podcast guest to schedule your time slot, and don't forget to follow us on all our social medias at Business Bros Pod. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so excited and so honored to bring yet another incredible guest on the Business Bros Pod. The one thing that stood out to me the most while I was doing research on today's guest is that, like yours truly, he leads with his heart. It's one thing to be the CEO of a majorly successful corporation, feared and respected by subordinates and peers alike. Our guest today, however, was recognized this year as one of Houston's most admired CEOs, and there's no mystery why. He loves his work because what truly drives him is changing people's lives. He believes in creating environments that leaves people better off than when they started. That's why, after managing a $100 million sales division for an $8 billion company and founding multiple nonprofit startups in order to give back, he created the perfect environment to help young companies grow. Coming to us today out of Houston, Texas, give it up for the CEO of WorkLodge and a Guinness World Record holder. Welcome to the show, Mike Thakur.
Mike, welcome to the program, man. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. How you guys doing?
Oh man, I'm excited to hear about. First of all, I'm just gonna go out and just start off with the first question. Guinness Book World Record. What is that? What do you have the record in?
So it was 2020. I figured that the year wasn't challenging enough. So I was involved with a little thing called Podfest not too long ago. I was one of the speakers on their world record attempt for the largest online virtual podcast conference in the world, and they broke the record by literally by three. And so I got myself a little certificate, and I'm going to get it framed, stick it on the back wall somewhere, and feel pretty good about myself.
That's okay. So virtual event. So in other words, we had a bunch of podcasters together on a virtual event, and you were in front of the most number of people.
So I was one of the speakers. It was like a whole, set of speaker tracks over 3 or 4 different days. And I think overall they came in at like 5,003 attendees online at that virtual podcast event. Yeah. It's called Podfest Expo, I think.
All right, I gotta hear about this. As a fellow podcaster, what was it like knowing or being aware that 5,000 pairs of eyes were on you in your message?
Well, so I don't know that they were all on me at that exact moment in time. I'm not sure how the numbers kind of washed out, but it was definitely a little bizarre. We kind of pre-recorded a segment, and then you're live as your recording's playing, so you can interact with the folks, and it kind of removes some of the technical risks, for doing an event that was worldwide and global. So, dude, it was pretty awesome. And actually, the day that my talk was on was literally launch day for my podcast. So I was pretty stoked.
That's a huge bump. Were you able to kind of take some of that audience and shift it in your direction?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what it would have been without it. So I think I might have had a couple, but I don't know what the normal was before.
All right, well, let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey. James was talking about how you lead with your heart. Him in particular, he has this birthmark on his arm. It's in the shape of a heart. So we always tell him he wears his heart on his sleeve. Very emotional. And we kind of got our company motto from that. He does the Insurance Bro Show. And on that show, we talk about how we want to be known as the agency that overpays their people and gives away cool free shit. So those are kind of the things that we love to be promoting. But at some point, your companies need to make a profit. What was your journey like to get to that philanthropy stage through building businesses?
So I think, this time around, so this is my 5th startup here with WorkLodge. And so this time around, the goal was right from the outset. We knew we wanted to do this nonprofit. We knew we wanted to fund it. And, I'm going back 2013, 2014, when we first had the idea, started working on it. So, social enterprise, social impacts, all that kind of stuff. If it was around, dude, I wasn't aware of it. It wasn't kind of that fashionable kind of phrase that it is today. And so we were just trying to figure out, look, if we could have a for-profit and we can take all the profits from there and fund this nonprofit, man, we can go out there and, make a small dent in the world, never have to ask anybody for anything, never have to rely on donations and all that kind of stuff. And then if we can scale and be more successful, it just means we can fuel more goods. So, we made the nonprofit before we even opened the doors. I mean, it was there from the get-go. When we were pre-selling, we were telling everybody about it. And, it's been neat to be able to roll through that. We donate straight off the top, off the gross revenues. And, obviously try and keep a little bit for business growth and development and that kind of stuff as well. But that's really our primary reason for existence, other than obviously serving the customer and delivering this great workspace experience that we're trying to deliver. Really the flip side of that coin is we've got to do it so we can go out there. There's people depending on us. There's people's lives literally hanging on the line if we don't make this work. So.
Well, let's put the pause button because I want to get back to WorkLodge, especially with the whole COVID situation and how you guys are handling that. But before that, how did you you talked about doing multiple startups at this point. You're at the point where this is not your first rodeo. What was it like getting started for you at the very beginning? There are a lot of our audience is just getting started. That I have this idea? Maybe it's something great, something awesome that I'm going to take advantage of. And they tend to fall into a lot of pitfalls and mistakes. What were some of the experiences you had when you first got started?
So my first company, I was probably in my mid-20s, maybe 26, 27, something like that. I'd been working for a few years after college, and I actually worked for this great manager who ended up being my business partner. And we started an internet marketing company back in the 90s. Literally, this is pre-Google. So I remember when Google launched, and I was still using Alta Vista and Excite, Ask Jeeves and all these other search engines, and you'd put your search term in and you'd hope that something even remotely, correct came back. And then along came Google, and it's like, wow, it actually works. I can search for, fish and chips and I actually get fish and chips back in the results. So it's pretty awesome. And so, I think first time round, look, I was married young. So my wife was just qualifying as a school teacher. And we had that practical conversation. Hey, you know what? I've been working for a few years. You've been at school. I want to go start this thing. Means I might not make any money for a little while. Can we cover the bills? Can we cover what we need to? And is it okay if we can't do much more than that? And, we said yes. So it was time to take the risk. I mean, especially when you're younger, you got no kids, you don't have a lot of responsibility. As long as you can cover the basics that you've got to make sure of. I mean, what are you going to do? Not take a risk and see where something could go?
Mm-hmm. That's regret all over, right? All of a sudden, right? You're going to have a lot of, it's funny that you have that same start because when I was 20 years old, I bought my first house. We started our first business on accident. We were young, dumb, and partying and not really paying attention to our business. So our business failed, right? We hit rock bottom. And at that point, when I was at my brokest is when I was going to get married. It had gone through all these ups, and then I hit the worst part. I was super broke. I had dropped out of college, didn't have a degree, and my wife was just starting her student teaching. So she's a teacher too. So I can clearly remember having a very similar conversation with, that whole idea of what's going to happen next. And by that time, by that point, that entrepreneurial bug had already bit. I knew this was something that I wanted to continue to do. And she was there 100% to support everything. I mean, critically, right? And, keeping me in check every once in a while when my ambitions were bigger than what I was actually doing, but supportive nonetheless. How was it, having a spouse to support you to kind of be there when you weren't making money, be there when you have this new idea, be there when you have to make a capital investment, when you don't necessarily have that squared away. What was it like building at that point?
So I think, one of the things I've really been blessed with is a wife that believed in me and the things I wanted to do. We actually talked about this for a couple of episodes called Be Supported on the podcast, little plug there. But it was important to talk about because, one of the things a lot of entrepreneurs miss is they think about, have I got a good idea? Can I go start it? Have I got enough investment? They don't stop and think, do I have the right people around me to give me that encouragement every day, to believe in me, to stick with me, whether this works or not? As a flexible workspace provider, I've seen marriages fail because he wants to keep going with his startup. His wife doesn't want him to keep going with it. Then they have an impasse. Literally one guy, she left, he stuck with it. He ended up selling it. Thankfully he's, got a new life and everything's kind of worked out okay. But if you don't stop and think about that stuff as well, dude, you're never going to be successful because you're going to need it. You're going to need those people around you. You're going to need those people believing in you. And you're going to need those people encouraging you, when you take that roller coaster ride.
Let's talk about that team though, because you mentioned something super important right here, which is that solopreneur, right? We think we're going to do it all on our own. I can do my own books. I can do my own taxes. I can do my own marketing. I can edit my own videos. I can do everything. I wear every single hat. Talk to me about building your team and how that helped you grow your business, scale your business, and give you that time that's necessary so that the person who's supporting you most gets some of that attention.
So I think I can talk about that in two different ways, actually. So, my first business, my second business back in the UK, small businesses, I had a partner in one, didn't have a partner in the other. It was easier to find people to help because my village is there, right? People I've worked with in previous companies, previous schools that I've grown up with. I mean, you've just got a network of friends and family you can lean on. Coming to a new country, as you can probably tell from my southern drawl, I'm not originally from Texas, but coming to a new country and having to do it again. Dude, it's been harder. It's been harder to find people. I can't pick up the phone and speak to somebody I've known for 20 years and say, dude, can you come and help me with this? Because I don't have them. And so we found that one of the most difficult things here, finding people to believe in the cause, believe in what we're doing, believe in us, and and trust us along that journey to see through it to the end. And we've got a small core team right now that they're awesome, and we've been really, really blessed. But I'd be lying if I didn't say it'd been hard to put that together, and unbelievably hard compared to my first couple startups back in the UK, where everything was so different.
When you're here in Texas, how did you find those team members? So what was that thing that kind of shifted over where you became, was it something like a BNI group? Was it church? Was it, kids, sports teams? How did you end up connecting with the right people?
So believe it or not, they've all been strangers that we just interviewed and hired. So I've done really badly hiring from church. It is what it is, but it hasn't worked for me. We found one at a job fair. And, he was there along with a bunch of other folks. We interviewed him, talked to him, one straight from a good old Indeed.com. And I'm not even sure where the third one came from that I'm thinking of. But I think for me, we've taken a very slow and steady approach. Try not to get too carried away too quick. Test, measure, execute, hope that they can deliver, and make sure they can deliver, more than once or twice. So you've really got that trust there, and you've really built up a level of understanding where, they can understand you and how you're communicating. You can understand them and how they're communicating. And then together you can kind of slowly build on that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle where they might trust someone too quick. They may, pass off too much responsibility because it's just so much on their shoulders, and then again, I got stories coming out my ears. One of my good friends here is his bookkeeper, and she took him for 50 grand over the course of a number of years, just siphoning off dollars here and there. Damn! Right? It caught up with him, but that's painful.
Yeah, especially when you don't know and you're struggling to get started. At the very beginning of your business, sometimes, finding that break-even point and getting to that is one of the most difficult and most stressful things to do, especially when you have a family that you need to take care of. And to find out later down the road that it was all being, a lot of that was being inched away from you. I couldn't imagine. Just the sheer anger in that. But it kind of, these are also learning lessons, right? These are moments in time that they can be frustrating, they can be upsetting, they're huge roadblocks or obstacles in our way, but these are also things that are life lessons. I always talk about, going broke. The first time I ever went broke was the greatest education in business I had ever come across. It's sad that I had to, wear the scars and have the wounds to go through it, but I'm better for it. Right. When that sort of stuff happens. Let's talk a little bit about WorkLodge. You leave the UK, you come over here to the great country of Texas, and you decide to get started right away on a new venture. Walk me through that.
No, so we actually came here to work with some nonprofits. So the first time I came to the US was in the 90s. We came here for a little while, worked out in Nashville, Tennessee with a nonprofit called Teen Challenge. And it's a substance abuse rehabilitation program. It's faith-based. And it's a 1-year residential program where young adults and teenagers can come in dealing with life-controlling substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, whatever. And so that was our first taste of the US, and it was phenomenal. And I think that was probably the single most vivid example I can think of that made me realize if you're going to do anything and you're going to try and find a way to help people, and you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to get in there where it's down and dirty. A lot of folks don't want to get in the weeds, but somebody's got to, and they killed it. Again, I talk about this on one of the episodes, but it was just a phenomenal life-changing experience. So when we came back, I actually came back to work at a church. So I'm a faith guy. I've been a kids pastor, a youth pastor, an assistant pastor. And so we worked at churches for a number of years. And I think through that was when I realized, hey, I can't do the things I want to do. And the model of church or the system of church isn't built to do some of the things I want to do. And that's what took us back on this road of, okay, where have I seen, some favor before in life? Well, okay, I did okay in business. What if we could do something with business, fuse it with mission and purpose, and actually make something of it? And so that's what we did with WorkLodge. And obviously that's what's enabled us to do things like, building children's homes out in India, or, building clean water wells for thousands of people, or even here in Houston, we just made what for us was our largest donation ever to a local nonprofit here. They're building a 5-acre self-sustaining community where they can bring in the homeless, the overlooked, give them somewhere to live, educate them, train them vocationally. And then literally they're going to build an auto shop like on site, so they can have a job, earn a wage, create a profit. The profit goes back into the self-sustaining community to help fund everything. We're all about that. That's what we're interested in. So, we just
try to make the world a better place.
and that's exactly what you're doing. Everything you just described right there, there's power in it. Mainly, go ahead, James, because I know that's one of your things. You got to turn on your mic, though. So that's
totally forgot. But I just wanted to pop in really quick and say that is exactly what I'm talking about. Like building that kind of a self-sustaining community. Like right. That's how you solve homelessness. And there are resources in the world to do that. Sorry, I just had to pop in and say that.
No, but you're right. That's the only way you're going to do it, because the old model is, ask. Here's my hand. Give me some more free money. Mm-hmm. Dude, there's no free money left. Look around. If you can't build it with a fusion of entrepreneurship in the mission, you are not going to succeed going this next decade.
But what you described, the way you described that, right? The way you laid it out, you didn't know if the church was going to let you do certain things, whatever. You were first and foremost trying to solve a problem. And right. That's something that successful entrepreneurs have been able to identify quick and easy. There's a problem. Let's brainstorm on this particular problem. Let's see if there's even a market for this particular. Do other people have a similar problem, right? And then let's take it to market. So let's talk about the WorkLodge for a second, because things have changed since you've opened that a little bit, right? So first of all, tell us what WorkLodge is, and then go into how COVID has affected it.
Yeah. So again, back in 2013, I'm working in the world of boutique security, kidnap, ransom, extortion, that kind of stuff. So, ultra sensitive, no centralized office. I'm working from home. And listen, for all this working from home stuff, I promise you do that for a few years, everybody wants to get back to the office. So I needed somewhere to go work, and I couldn't find anything. The only place that I could find was this executive suite space. And it was 4 solid walls of drywall, a solid door. It was like a prison cell. I didn't see another human being when I went in and when I went out.
Oh, hell no.
And so they said, hey, this is the only one we've got, and it's $800 a month. And I came home and I said to my wife, I said, babe, I don't know a thing about commercial real estate, but I can build something better than that because I'm not going to go work there. And so we started on this idea of what if we could build some kind of cool campus environment for the smaller business, that mid-sized business who can't build a Googleplex, who can't build a Microsoft, whatever, because I'd worked at bigger companies and seen how awesome that was. Why should the little guy suffer because he can't make the investment? And so that's the idea that WorkLodge bore out of. And then obviously co-working became a thing. And so, I thought I had a great idea, but evidently someone beat me to it. And so it's been a fun few years. And, we've only got a few locations, but I am biased. Dude, they're awesome. Like we built a Mercedes-Benz level workspace and we sell it at Ford money. And we deliver some really, really cool environments.
Man, I was watching the little stuff on the YouTube there. You got a slide in your places, right?
Yeah.
What's the slide all about?
So I wanted a fun vibe, and we're child free, so it's not for kids at all. And so what we say to people is this, dude, if you win a big deal or you want to celebrate something, you go hit that slide. Everybody knows it's high five time. Like that's the WorkLodge language for, dude, I killed it today.
That's, and the other thing I was thinking of, I mean, that's probably a cultural thing for your office, but if you're feeling in the dumps, like you don't feel like getting stuff done, going down that slide, as an adult does something different to you. I believe it does. You know what I mean? Like when you see an adult in the playground and they go up and they go down the slide, when it's not to chase a child, their inner child comes out. All of a sudden, whatever you were feeling, the doubt, the fear, the anger, whatever, you go down that slide, it's almost like it whisks it away, like it's gone. And you feel that euphoria that you're talking about. And when
that's cool, baby. I mean, you know how it is.
Exactly. And when other people are there giving you that high five, helping you out, they might not know exactly what's going on. It could have been a good deal. It could have been, you just needed a pat on the back, but you've provided an atmosphere where that happens. Now we've had COVID since March 13th. Country goes into this whole lockdown thing. People are working from home. How has that affected your business?
So, I think everybody in commercial real estate has been affected. Lots of companies don't want to come into the office. Some of them have been fortunate enough to be able to, shut down a lease or shut down an agreement or just run it out because the timing was great. Some of them, have still been locked in it. I genuinely believe long-term, the majority of people wouldn't choose working from home versus going to a great space to work from. I do think there's going to be a shift. I do think there's going to be more of a hub and spoke model, which is why we built in the suburbs from the get-go, because we've always believed that. And I think in the co-working industry particularly, the practical reality is, some spaces aren't going to make it. It's not because it's a bad model. I think it's a global pandemic. What do you want to say? The guy that wins is the guy that's got enough cash to ride it out, or they got enough lawyers to strong arm the landlord, to give him a break. And for the ones that don't have one of those two options, they're probably going to lose their space. And I think it's going to be a shame because ultimately it makes so much more sense. Why, as a business owner, why on earth would I go and sign a 3 or a 5 or a 7-year lease and hope that my business is the size I think it's going to be in 3 or 5 or 7 years? And if it's not, I either overpaid for space I didn't use, I underpaid for space, and now I'm stuck because I got nowhere to go. And then I'm getting nickel and dime for all these other things that I didn't even know existed. I mean, dude, I had no idea that I had to pay taxes on every chair and every desk and every piece of like literally business property I own every single year. I'm like, is this a joke? And I get the bills every year. And most small business owners, I don't think realize it, but we pay that. So they don't have to because we own everything. So there's just so many reasons why it makes so much sense that I think in the long run, you're going to see flexible space and then you're going to see big floors and buildings that the big guys take. And I don't think there's going to be anything in between. I really don't. I think it would be abnormal for any small company to go at least 3,000 or 5,000 square feet. It could be suicide for them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But you have another side of your business here. So part of it is maintaining the actual space, right? So that it doesn't go under. But the other side is all the benefits that came with your type of business, right? So you're for profit technically, right? But you're also contributing so much to other types of organizations around you. How has that, the ability for you to be so giving, how has that shown in reciprocity now that the pandemic has hit?
So I think that's been one of the most surprising things for me. We really haven't shouted about it probably as much as we should. This whole podcasting thing and, being on YouTube or whatever is very, very strange for me. I'm a little bit more of a quiet guy. And so I think we've probably done a really poor job of communicating and messaging that over the years. Since we opened, we've shot for, and I think we've achieved every single year over 10% off the top gross, off the top revenue that we've been able to donate back to the nonprofit or other people's nonprofits, in the local area and beyond. Not sure where we're going to fall this year. I got to be honest. I got to see where the end of the year lies and, look at the numbers, because revenue is, this is a down year for us for sure. I can't sit here and say, man, everybody's just rallied around and come and bought space because we do great things. I think it's been surprising that, a lot of folks just don't seem overly interested in it, if I'm honest. They kind of shrug their shoulders and, yeah, okay, whatever. But there's definitely also some folks that really do get, excited about it and do value that we're trying to make a difference. But ultimately for us, the reason we've been so, tepid about it and not really shouted about it too much is because we don't really care. We're not raising donations. We're not asking for money from anybody else. We're doing what we do. We'll let you know about it. If you want to get excited about it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. It doesn't make any difference because we're not doing it for you. I'm doing it for the folks that need it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. That's so powerful because it gives you that energy that you need when things are not right now. For example, is one of the tougher times for you in your business. And yet those types of ideas, concepts, those moralities, that integrity that you have to help other people, that's what's pushing you through a lot of these times. That idea of, I'm not doing it for you. Like if you can hear me right now, if you're listening and watching on YouTube, you're probably not the person that I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help those other people that don't have a voice, that are lost, that are invisible when you see them sitting right there on the freeway, and yet nobody's paying attention to them. Right? That's a whole different mentality. That's a whole different type of personality that you have that's fueling you to keep going forward. What is your vision of what's going to happen in the future? Maybe not just 2021, but where you see your company going and what you're doing.
So I think, as long as we can ride out, and I obviously, I believe we can, but as long as we can ride this out, and get through it and push forward, again, I'm completely bullish on flexible workspace. This is the future of workspace for any company with less than 70 or 80 employees, hands down. You just got to find the right space and the right provider. But even beyond that, we want to take that and we want to start developing some more training, some more support so that we can help the folks who we serve here in our kind of co-working spaces, but then also hopefully be able to use that same material and go out there to developing areas and maybe train others who don't realize that being an entrepreneur is something they can do. They don't realize they've got skills, inside of them that they just need to bring out, or somebody needs to show them how to bring them out. And so, I think our mission, longer term goal is to figure out, how do we go out to a village and transform it? How do we go out and build some kind of center that literally becomes this community center of education, of faith, of love, of peace, and just bring them some hope where they may not have it. And whether this works or doesn't, somehow or another, that's still going to happen. If this does work, that's just going to happen faster, and quicker. So I'm okay either way.
All right. I want to get to know your podcast a little bit. I know for me personally, podcasting has become one of the greatest prospecting tools I've ever come across. We're literally episode 617. We've had over 400 interviews. It's been an amazing experience. Selfishly, I've learned more since starting this podcast than ever before, because I get to meet people like yourself and learn from your experiences and your knowledge and your wisdom and, all the ups and downs. What's been your experience now that you have a podcast and you've been creating content? How has that changed your life?
So I think first of all, I've been creating content for quite a while, just through blogs. I actually published a book a few years ago. And so, the content side of things isn't too different for me. I think what's really been surprising for me, and we wrestle with this for a while again, because I'm not the kind of guy that wants to be on camera and, in front of everybody. I'm kind of happy not to be. So it was probably about a year and a half that we wrestled with, I think I should do this podcast, but I don't really want to be, can I do it like invisibly? Can I get like a fake face and pretend I'm someone else, but my accent's going to give me away? So probably not. I think what's been really cool is, like you say, I've got to meet some amazing people. And so my show started off as just a solo show. So it was me and my wife for about the first 10, 11 episodes. And then we introduced a couple of guests and thought we'd try that. But our goal isn't to just interview people and have them, tell their story. It's really more to just get into a conversation about a concept or a theme and just dig deeper on that for that 30, 40 minutes or something. And I think we'll probably hybrid a little bit of kind of solo show versus guest show and keep it in the mix. But my goal, obviously, One was to just meet some great people. As you said, it's just phenomenal. The podcasting community, you know, I say this, it just hasn't been tarnished. We're not competing against each other. Just because I've got one doesn't mean I'm fighting, you know, with you for that same listener. And you don't get that same tension that you get in business, where there's this icky weirdness of, well, I'm at a networking event and there's a guy who does something similar to me. So can we go say hi, or is that not okay? Everybody watching.
The awkward business dating.
Right. No, I don't want to be that way. Dude, there's plenty to go around. It's having that abundant mindset and just thinking it's going to be okay. You know, I don't need $100 million to be okay. 99 would still work for me. You know, 98 would still work for me. And I'm nowhere near either of those numbers, just to be clear. But I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is just what a community, what a way to meet some great people. And I think the second thing is it's helping me just figure out who I am today and what I think today is. Life has changed me and things have evolved over the years. And, you know, I'm 40 something. So, you know, a couple decades of working, it's helping me just slow down and think about who I am, who I want to be, and where I want to go a little bit more than just racing constantly, which is what happens, right? You just hamster on a wheel, man. It's another day, it's another hustle, it's another dollar. Let's go do it. And you just never start.
And then we wonder why time flies, right?
Wow. Yeah. I don't even know where 2020 went. So
it was a blink. It's gone already. All right, Mike, last question here. Actually, I got two questions for you. But first of all, before we get to my last question, can you let people know if they want to work with you, if they are looking for some space out there in Houston? Most of our audience is in San Diego. But if they're looking to get a hold of you, maybe contribute to some of your nonprofits, can you let them know how they can get a hold of you? Maybe also your podcast? Give it a plug.
Yeah. Absolutely. So worklodge.com is the workspace. We're in Houston. Got a couple spaces there. We're in Dallas as well. So come check us out. Genuinely great spaces, you know, awesome locations. If you want to hear the show, just go to mikethakur.com. It's THAKUR. You'll find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the usual kind of places. And, you know, let me know if you're listening, right? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear some feedback. If it's mean, just don't leave a review. Just send it to me personally. And if it's nice, you can leave a review. That's okay. But you can, you know, find out all the different things I'm involved in at mikethakur.com. So
I love that. I'm gonna steal that one because that's a great one. If it's bad, send it to me directly. If it's great, then go ahead and put a plug.
I'm gonna delete it, but it's just still send it to me. It's okay.
Yeah. I love that. All right. Last little question here. You've been creating content for quite some time. You have a podcast. I wanted to get some honest feedback from you. What do you think of our show? The production, the design, the feel, the host. How do you feel about our show?
So honestly, I'll tell you the funniest thing is I was literally having a conversation with a member in my space yesterday about StreamYard, which is the platform you're using right now to broadcast this live. And he's raving about it. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to go live. Like, why would I use that? I'm okay just doing audio and, you know, maybe doing a Zoom thing. It's like, no, Mike, you got to do the StreamYard thing. Let me show you how easy it is. And then I get this link from you guys with the StreamYard thing on it. So this is an awesome tool. You know, the way that it works is great. I love this kind of, you know, real live kind of vibe. You guys have got such great energy. And that's one of the reasons why I was happy to, you know, to come on the show after checking you out a little bit. You know, I didn't stalk you too much, but I might just stalk you a little bit. You know, I'm sure you went crazy. And, you know, right now I'm jealous because you're in San Diego and I'm in Houston. It's like 37 degrees outside. So something's wrong with the world.
Oh man. Yeah. I usually go out to Austin and I haven't really been out to Houston very much, but, and we would go every quarter. One of my business partners for our insurance agency is out there. So we'd go out every quarter and that winter quarter is not nice. I mean, I'm leaving over here and I got me, you know, flip flops and a hoodie and I walk out the airport over there and it's freezing.
Right. I had no idea. So my first winter here, we literally had a flutter of snow. And I'm thinking, what's going on right now? I thought Texas stayed hot all year round. Like somebody lied to me. I moved to the wrong place. I should have gone to Florida, Arizona or something. I'm not, listen, 90 degrees for me is cold. Like I keep my house at 78 if I get away with it. This is not working at all. And everybody laughs at me, but I'm not built for this.
I don't want to feel the weather. Then you need to come to San Diego. You need to go to Florida. You need to go to some of these hot weather states.
Absolutely.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you very much for coming on the program. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on. And what you're doing again is so phenomenal, not just because of, you know, on top of the workspace environment that you've created, creating something that's amazing but affordable. Those are all great things, but you take it one step further by doing everything you possibly can to help your fellow man that is in need. Whether or not they're ready to ask for the help or not is not the important part. The important part is that there are people like you in this world that are making a difference, that are taking action to do something. And I honestly, I commend you for doing that, and I wish you much more success.
I think he's wonderful.
I got a couple of things for you before you go, if we got time.
Go for
it. So I think just to respond to that, the reality is you, me, all of us, somebody helps us get to where we are today. None of us got here on our own. Whether we realize it or not, somebody helped. And they might not have helped in the way that other people need help, but I think as humans, we've got a responsibility to pay some of that forward and also pay some of that back. But I'm going to leave you with a funny little story. So you call Business Bros. Now, I grew up in the UK, and you might not know this, but there was a little old boy band in the UK when I was a teenager, and they were also called BROS. But they didn't say it as bros. They said it as bros. And it was two brothers, Luke and Matt Goss. Now, I'm going to give you some homework here because to say they were huge around the world would be an understatement. Like, they were filling Wembley Stadium and all the girls were screaming and going crazy. Like, they were two pretty boys, and they nailed it. Their first song was called When Will I Be Famous? You can find it on YouTube. I'm going to give them a plug here. But here's where it gets interesting. A couple of years ago, I'm in Las Vegas with my wife. I'm walking through Caesar's Palace, and here's a poster from Matt Goss. It's got his own little show going on in Vegas. So then I go Googling and thinking, what happened? How did they go from a boy band to this guy being in Vegas? Here's his brother in Hollywood making movies. And I'm like, what? So go check him out. I just thought you'd find it interesting. And something pretty catchy.
Will.
So you know what? I'm okay if they're famous. I don't want to be. So.
Well, I mean, we got the bros here too, but I don't think we got the good looks I don't think we'll get the screaming girls coming along. What do you think, James? Probably not, huh?
Dude, they had a whole lot more hair than me and you.
Yeah, I think you need a little hair to get that done. Maybe it'll work for him, but we'll see.
I guess we'll try.
Speechless. All right, Mike. Well, thank you very much again for coming on the show. Wish you a ton of luck. Ladies and gents, check out all Mike's stuff, Mike Thakur, MikeThakur.com. You can follow him on Instagram at Real Mike Thakur. Mike, thanks again for coming on the show. Ladies and gents, it is Tuesday. We'll see you again tomorrow on Hump Day. That's all we got for you guys today. Peace.
Bye-bye.
And we're
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation. Or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.